but 34 games is a career high. And if he's going to be paid, more than the 2.5 that he got, or more than the 3 million that Joseph Wall is making, which I think he's probably going to be asking for significantly more. He's got to play more than 34 games, does he not? Like, he's got to be in the net for half the starts if he's going to be asking for something that starts with an F, whether it's a $4 or $5 million deal.
Yeah, he's got to prove that he can play at least another 15 more games minimum in order to even get into that conversation. Because, like, the one thing that Stolarz has is that the goaltending market stinks, especially in free agency. Yeah, you can be, Philip Gustafson's a half decent option. Like Sergei Bobrovsky, he's gonna be too old, in my opinion. Like, when he reaches
probably sign him to like a 7-year deal at like $2 million per season for Bobrovsky, and have him there till he's like 43, just like Marchand.
And then you got Jacob Markstrom. Like, the options just are not plentiful. And so, like, if you're Stolarz, you can say, well, okay, if you're not going to pay me, then I'm just going to go to the open market where teams have shown that they're willing to spend money, especially on goalies, and he can do that. But I also think that if you're Stolarz, you just had your best year of your career in Toronto. Goalies tend to like the situation they're in and try to maintain that level of comfort. And at 5 leagues, this is probably why they're trying to get this deal done now.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, I know some people are like, oh, it's 1 year. Can he replicate it? I would rather bet on my chances on Anthony Stolarz and what he can do versus what's out there. And if you have to pay in the $4 million range to get it done, you could do a lot worse with that money. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It's like that number is not a bad one to look at. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back. We'll look at some comparables from some other tandem goalies around the league that Stolarz could be pointing to in terms of what he wants on his next contract, and maybe what we think is a fair deal for both him and the Maple Leafs. And could another goaltender be in the mix for the Maple Leafs this upcoming year? We'll talk about that next. You're in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel. It fits however I like to bet, whether you're betting on player props, building a same-game parlay, jumping in on some live same-game action. It keeps the game exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick. It's easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So you're ready to play? Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morisuti with you, as we are each and every day. Starting Monday, we're back to 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Each and every day, bringing you nothing but hot Maple Leafs content. So if you're a big Leaf fan, you want to be up to date with what's going on with the team, make sure you're locked into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Wherever you get your podcast from, it's free and available there. And also on YouTube, if you want to come and look at our mugs from time to time. So we're just talking about a potential extension that could be in the works for Anthony Stolarz and the Maple Leafs, coming off his really solid year one. He goes into his second year, and you had mentioned before it may be better for the Maple Leafs to get an extension done before the season and bet on Anthony Stolarz. I've heard that before. Do you want to know which player I've heard that with before, which scares me?
Yeah, sure.
Jack Campbell.
That was exactly
How many times after the first year he was with Toronto, and even the first 2 months of the season when he was with the Maple Leafs, did we come on here and say, man, they should sign Campbell. Campbell deserves an extension. He was an all-star that final year he was there. And then it all fell apart for him. And it's because it was a small sample size. When the sample size grew, it all fell apart. Once one thing happened, and the next, and the next, and before he knew it, it was not a good scene in Toronto. So, and then he walks via free agency. Somehow Edmonton decides to give him a boatload of cash, and now he's a free agent after being bought out and sat in the minors for a couple of seasons. So that's the one thing that I think you do worry is sample size with Stolarz. Now he has been in the NHL for quite some time. Like when you do look at his body of work, he has had 142 starts in the National Hockey League. He's been a backup, for the last four years full time, I guess you could say, at the NHL level, including last year. So maybe he's broken through, and you like, what you've seen a little bit more, especially what you saw from him in the playoffs last season. But that is one name that does kind of sit, sometimes, sits rent free in the back of my head when I'm thinking about paying goaltenders who do not have, a large body of work under them.
Yeah, and like I think when you look at the goaltending market, especially, Jack Campbell's a fascinating one, just because I remember, how could the Leafs let Campbell go after he had such a decent year, and he looked like he was like finally putting it all together, and then you see the contract that the Oilers gave him, and you're just like, yeah, no, I don't know, that's fine. Like, you're good to let him go, and like it was justified. You have to, in some way, kind of look at what Stolarz did and say, okay, you're the amount of games, that's the worrisome part, but the production was there, and everyone talks about the playoffs and how different it might have been if he didn't get hurt. But I just think that the alternative is what worries me more. If you don't keep Stolarz, like Joseph Woll, you're comfortable, at least you have him, but he's got his own injury history. You haven't really developed somebody behind those two to say, okay, no, you can let Stolarz go and bring up a Dennis Hildeby. Like, we're not at that stage yet.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not saying not to bring back Stolarz or that I'm worried about it. It's just, if you can wait sometimes, you wait one more year and see if something else, or wait and see if it works out well, because it could go the other way at some point too. But when you look at a contract for Anthony Stolarz, like, what does that look like